Okay, Stupid Monkey Philosophy. It answers in Stoicism here. And sorry for the long delay on this video. Hopefully it will be short. And it looks all jacked up in my StreamYard because I set this up from my phone. So, the soul. What is it? This is our question for today. Okay. So first we'll go to this Google definition. Soul. This is from Oxford Languages. It says a noun, the spiritual or immaterial part of a human being or animal regarded as immortal. Also emotional or intellectual energy or intensity, especially as revealed in a work of art or an artistic performance. And so this is often used interchangeably with the word spirit. Spirit meaning noun, the non-physical part of a person, which is the seat of emotions and character, or the soul. Also, those qualities regarded as forming the definitive or typical elements in the character of a person, nation, or group, or in the thought and attitudes of a particular period. Right. Okay, and now we'll go over here. And this is the definition of ego. Ego, as a noun, is a person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance. Also, in psychoanalysis, the part of the mind that mediates between the conscious and the unconscious and is responsible for reality testing and a sense of personal identity. And in philosophy and metaphysics, a conscious thinking subject. You can see the use of the word ego has increased dramatically. In this AI overview, I thought was interesting. The ego is the part of the self that creates our persona and is driven by fear, external validation, and a sense of separation. While the soul, this is the difference between the ego and the soul according to AI, right? While the soul is our true inner essence, driven by love, inner peace, and a sense of connection to a greater whole. It says the ego seeks to control, judge, and be right, often leading to feelings of inadequacy, while the soul responds, accepts, and trusts, fostering qualities like compassion, creativity, and purpose. The journey is not to eliminate the ego, but to allow the soul to guide life by integrating its wisdom, not through external achievements. And we have this image here. How to know if it's your ego or your soul. Okay, but really, what is this, right? What is the so ego? This is from Freud, 1923. The ego and the id, introducing the structural model of the psyche, dividing into three parts. Id, ego, and superego. In psychoanalytic theory, the id, ego, and superego are three distinct interacting agents in the psychic apparatus, outlined in Sigmund Freud's structural model of the psyche. The three agents are theoretical constructs that Freud employed to describe the basic structure of mental life as it was encountered in psychoanalytic practice. Freud himself used the German terms das, es, ich, and über-ich, which literally translate as the it, I, and over I. The Latin terms id, ego, and superego were chosen by his original translators and have remained in use. Okay, here, so So, broadly speaking, the id is the organism's unconscious array of uncoordinated instinctual needs, impulses, and desires. The superego is the part of the psyche that has internalized social rules and norms, largely in response to parental demands and prohibitions in childhood. The ego is the integrative agent that directs activity based on mediation between the id's energies, the demands of external reality, and the moral and critical constraints of the superego. Freud compared the ego, in its relation to the id, to a man on a horseback. The rider must harness and direct the superior energy of his mount, and at times allow for a practicable satisfaction of its urges. The ego is thus in the habit of transforming the id's will into action as if it were its own. Alright. So when we go back to the soul, is a spiritual or immaterial part of a human being or animal regarded as immortal, right? But we don't have any evidence of a soul. And so I think this is problematic. We don't have any means of verifying or testing this, right? But if we think about what is meant by this, that your soul is like guiding, right? It could kind of, in a way, be compared to ego here, I believe. So you have the desire of the being, the material being, and then you have this process of like learned behaviors, social norms, expectations, and then you would have this mediating part that operates in between what is desired by the brain, and then what is needed to sustain the body, right? Now, so like Eastern contemplative, thought says that essentially the ego is something to be shaken off, right? It's not actually something desirable. And in Christianity, there are certain schools of thought that think that what is meant by hell, right, is actually the annihilation of the soul. That it would be no more, and you would cease to experience. So I think there is something to this concept that we could look into as far as what it means for our soul to be annihilated in the here and now. If we were to take away that part of ourselves that we believe to be ongoing, that some people believe to be enduring, right? And say, oh no, wait, this piece, it doesn't actually exist. And if it does exist, and God does exist, and God has the power to annihilate this thing, well, then wouldn't it be better if I was to just annihilate it myself? Right? That's the only power you truly have. But if we do not believe in God, and we believe only in the reason, then it would make sense for us to now annihilate this part of ourselves we call the soul, because it is in fact merely a mental construct that is of no use to us. So I see the soul as being some extension of like that concept of the psyche. Um, and as long as it is, right, then we can manipulate that. Or it can be manipulated. And so it's something to be pursued and understood, or it is something to be done away with, annihilated, if you will. This is something like the thoughts that I was having while riding the bus. And so I leave you with that. It's definitely not exactly the way I intended this presentation to go, but hey, it's been a long week. Okay, so that's that. Maybe one more thing here. Yeah, so I'll just copy this link here and place it here. And so basically these are all like interpretations by spiritualists when they see, in this one it says ego seeks to serve itself, soul seeks to serve others. And this isn't entirely true, as we've just seen with the breakdown, right? So they're conflating egotism with ego, right? And furthermore, they don't know what a superego is, right? Ego seeks outward recognition, soul seeks inner authenticity. Ego sees life as a competition, soul sees life as a gift. Ego seeks to preserve self, soul seeks to preserve others. Ego looks outward, soul looks inward. Ego feels lack, soul feels abundance. Ego is mortal, soul is eternal. So all of these things are put into this spiritual and eternal context. Ego drawn to lust, soul is drawn to love. Ego seeks wisdom, soul is wisdom. You know what that means. Ego enjoys the prize, soul enjoys the journey. Ego is to cause pain, soul is cause of healing. Ego rejects God, soul embraces God. Ego seeks to be filled, soul is eternal wholeness. Ego is me, soul is we. And so I would argue that this is a false separateness, right, of this function. And so what they mean by soul is actually some undamaged version of the ego or something like that. And so again, I don't think we have any use for this concept, and I think we can do away with him. So that'll be the last thing. I'll put that link actually in the description, so you guys can check that out if you want to. And there's probably more literature there. But anyway. Alright, I think that's about it for me for today. So thank you to anybody who's listening during the stream, anybody who listens later, and have a great week. See you next time.